a gaze into indie's navel, a robust indie, and investing in stability. Welcome to the Unlimited Supply Podcast, your daily music business TLDR in your ear with an emphasis on TLDR, powered by a shower of queeners and rods and brought to you by No Disc, helping music technology and finance companies navigate the music industry in partnership with Digital Music News. It's August 28th, 2026. I'm Lars Murray. It's another Finance Friday, but before we dive into the shallow money trench, everybody is jumping on the AI labeling bandwagon, and the latest company to jump on that wagon train is Luminate, following in the steps of Spotify and maybe a step or two ahead of Apple. The industry rarely comes to a consensus on anything this quickly, but it does seem that the accelerated proliferation of AI slop has just become too big to ignore too fast. In the short term, this is a victory for human creators. In the long term, we'll just have to wait and see whether it's a victory in a small skirmish or a small blip in an escalating conflict. Kristin Robinson had the Penske inside scoop over at Billboard. Remember a couple of weeks back when the Madden Twins company Veeps, a subsidiary of Live Nation, gutted their online music publications? At the time, it looked like the last one standing in indie journalism was Stereo Gum and its managing editor, DeVille. Whatever the outcome of that, Chris took to his Such Great Heights Substack, not Stereo Gum, for a State of Indie Music post this week. Indie has a long tradition of deep self-analysis, or navel-gazing, so it's a very long read. Chris does not use words sparingly. He is 1,100 words into the post before he gets to part 1. 1,100 words to say it's complicated. Then he includes some wisdom from the always wise Beggars Group U.S. head and friend of the pod Nabil Ayers for some history, and secretly's Darius Van Armin, who is having a moment with Phoebe Bridgers at number 2 last week. At 2,166 words, we get into some actual nuggets. Indies had 44% market share in Q1, which anyone who listens to Unlimited Supply probably already knows, and it's unclear how much of that indie share belongs to traditional indie labels and how much to actual indie artists, which anybody who listens to Unlimited Supply would know. All right, I'm cutting to the chase. We are, after all, a TLDR. I can name that tune in 41 words. Those things I just mentioned, 44% market share, nobody knows how it breaks down. Plus, the key to indie's economic future is vinyl, merch, and know your fans, own your data, repeated 21 times. Oh, and there's a crisis in editorial coverage and human creation, and presumably word economy. There you have it, 41 words. One thing's for sure, if you subscribe to Chris DeVille on Substack, you will get a lot of words for your money. Now, maybe I'm being a little unfair clowning on Chris, and I'm prepared to be challenged on my dubious assertions, but if you want to while away a Saturday, gazing deeply into the navel of indie music, there is a link to Chris's post in the show notes. And that's not the half of it. Literally, set aside next weekend too, he's only halfway through. Part 2 is supposedly on the way. Now let's dive into the shallow money trench where thieves and pimps run free. One fairly concrete measure of the state of indie would be the financial state of indie, and on that tip, we got a clearer signal than Chris's article this week. That signal would be Beggars Group's 2025 annual results. Beggars doesn't do things like everybody. Not for them, those pesky quarterly reports. Not for them jamming out that Q2 report just in time for August vacation season. Beggars gave us the full year, and they gave it to us in August of the following year. Vacations be damned. James Hanley had the breakdown over at Music Week, and if you're judging the entire sector by Beggars results, the picture looks pretty robust. Year-over-year revenue was up a healthy 20% to roughly 1.8 rods or 180 million. Eat your heart out, UMG. Beggars does things a little differently. They do old-fashioned things like investing in headcount, and they also do forward-looking stuff like tracking and reporting emissions and sustainability numbers. At a fraction of the size of even the new BMG Concord Mini Major, Beggars is not the business, but it sure is a business. Bringing us back firmly into the business, the now of the majors, who are throwing queeners and rods at the AI future, the latest collective investment in AI went into Stability AI, which is building the, quote, next generation of responsible AI tools for music creation. This week, Stability announced that it had raised 0.76 rods, or $76 million, in its latest round, including money from a coalition of all three majors, presumably because Stability is playing nice with the majors when it comes to licensing their IP. Tim Ingham has the full story over at Music Business Worldwide. And that's another Finance Friday. Time for the Song of the Week. About a decade ago, Jon Salter from ATO brought their new signing, Margaret Glaspy, into the office to do a solo electric set. As I said at the time, she had me at her tweed Fender Champ, and then she started to sing. Over the past decade, her complex, versatile, and dare I say, raspy voice has produced some of my favorite songs, and she's just released a new album. It starts out with the almost Simon & Garfunkel-esque kiss-off song, Michigan, which is our Song of the Week. It's on our Unlimited Supply official podcast playlist on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Qobuz. There's a link in the show notes. Support for Unlimited Supply comes from you, our listeners. And now we have Unlimited Supply supporter swag. The limited edition Unlimited Supply Black Trucker Cap is on sale in the store, bundled with a year-long premium membership. We also have Unlimited Supply merit badges, or you can just buy me a cup of coffee. If you like what you hear, please hit that follow button wherever you get your pods. Follow us on Substack or drop us a rating and or a review on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify, and tell a friend or three, preferably 21 times, because according to marketing whiz Susie Schultz, it now takes not 5, but 21 times for anything to sink in. Links are in the show notes, but you can also visit unlimitedsupplypod.com to sign up for our newsletter, to tell us what you think about the show, to suggest feature ideas, to feed us info, to feed us lunch, to call us out on our dubious assertions, and to tell us what we're missing out on. In the words of the great philosopher Eduardo Rivadavia, don't let your short-term greed get in the way of your long-term greed. And in this business, remember, no conflict means no interest.